The National Rugby League, or more commonly known as the NRL, is Australia's top-level men's rugby league competition and was established all the way back in 1908, but was rebranded to the NRL in late 1997. Two of the most historic franchises in the National Rugby League are the Brisbane Broncos and North Queensland Cowboys. The two Queensland-based clubs have always had a fierce rivalry over the years, and always seem to find a spot in the finals. Brisbane have 6 premierships to their name, whilst Queensland only have 1, but their battles in the Queensland Derby each year are always must-watch sport. Over the years, the NRL has produced some epic grand finals and some forever famous moments, but no grand final was as climactic, as intense, as amazing as the 2015 grand final featuring the two most famous teams of Queensland. In today's video, I'm going to be taking a look back on the 2015 NRL season and reflect on all the moments that led to the greatest grand final of the league's history. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe for more sports related content like this. I'm closing in on 100 subscribers here and 13,000 subscribers on my main channel, so all support would be greatly appreciated. Before we start, I will be using a lot of photos in this video rather than footage, as the NRL copyrights a lot of footage, but I hope you all still enjoy. I'll be doing the best I can. Anyway, with that all being said, let's take a look back at the 2015 NRL season.
Lucas.
The 2015 NRL season, as per usual, was 26 rounds long, and each of the 16 teams would play 24 games. The Sydney Roosters finished atop the standings with 18 wins, followed by the Broncos and then North Queensland and the Storm to round out the top 4. The North Queensland Cowboys struggled to begin their season. They dropped their first 3 games, getting blown out by the Sydney Roosters in round 1, falling just short to the Knights in round 2, before getting blown out in round 3 by the Brisbane Broncos. In front of 40,000 people, the Cowboys struggled and collapsed, their defense miserable as the Broncos stormed to a 44-22 victory. From here on out though, the Cowboys would find their form, winning 10 straight before their first bye, including a historic comeback against the Parramatta Eels, where Cooper, Lynette, Morgan and Wright contributed 5 tries in just 12 minutes to come back from a 30-6 deficit. Jonathan Thurston, the star of the Cowboys and arguably one of the best players the NRL had ever seen, also nailed all 6 of his conversion attempts that game. Following that bye, the Cowboys would win 7 of their next 11 games and secure themselves a top 4 spot, behind only their rivals, the Brisbane Broncos. A pretty important person for the Cowboys this season was of course Thurston, as he went on to capture the Dally M medal for the 2015 season, proving just how phenomenal of a player he was for them. The Broncos were also exceptional this season, and at the end of it all, finished second on the ladder with a record of 17-7, only above the Cowboys due to percentage. As I mentioned, in the two teams' only clash for the year in the regular season, the Broncos would crush the Cowboys and looked like a favourite heading into the finals, considering 3 of their losses were by less than a try. Towards the tail end of the season, the Broncos were faltering a bit, dropping 4 of their last 6 games, but as I mentioned, many still had them as a top 2 favourite to win it all. The first week of the NRL finals came around and the two teams played each other in the qualifying final, 2nd versus 3rd. They battled it out in a tight slugfest, but in the end, it was the penalty kicks that mattered, as both teams scored 2 tries each, but the Broncos got the win, with 16 points to the Cowboys' 12. With the Broncos moving on to a preliminary final, things were looking up, and for the Cowboys, a lot of work needed to be put in if they were to keep their premiership aspirations alive. Well, it's safe to say they did. In the ensuing 2 games for the Cowboys, they would simply dominate their opponents, crushing the Cronulla Sharks by 39, not even letting them score. And then, in the preliminary final, they'd cruise past the Melbourne Storm, who had upset the Roosters a couple weeks prior. Cowboys coming out on top by 20. This would set the stage for an all-time grand final, as on the other side of the bracket, the Broncos had just beaten the Roosters just as comfortably as well, winning by 19 points. The stage was set, a clash of the top Queensland teams for all the stakes in 2015. A grand final with so much promise, but no one expected it to turn out to become the game it did. It's now Sunday, 4th of October 2015, the day of the grand final. Heading into the game, the Broncos were favourites. They had already beaten the Cowboys twice this season, easily winning all the way back in round 3 and clutching up in the qualifying final, so it's not unfair to say that they would have had a bit of confidence going into this game. In the other locker room, the Cowboys would have had some confidence too, with their co-captain Jonathan Thurston recently being named the NRL's Dally M medal winner, essentially the MVP of the league. There was a lot on the line for many players in the clubs. North Queensland was in search for their first premiership in club history, and it was an opportunity for gun Jonathan Thurston to cement his legacy as one of the all-time great Australian League players. For the Broncos, they had yet to lose a grand final in their history, and didn't seem determined for that to be the case now. The starting siren rang, and the game was on. Thanks to a penalty kick, the Broncos were on the board early, up 2-0. Then, thanks to an Anthony Milford pass to Jack Reed, Corey Oates ran over for the first try of the night. Shortly after though, the Cowboys struck back with a Justin O'Neill try, and the game was back to just 2 points. Though the Cowboys dummy half managed to get his second try assist of the night, finding Tamu to get the Cowboys the lead, it didn't last long, as the Broncos quickly retaliated and led at the major break, 14-12. The Broncos yet again got an advantage to start the half, scoring a penalty goal at the 43rd minute to extend their lead to 4. After this though, it was an all-out defensive battle. Brisbane's elite goal defence prevented multiple try attempts by the Cowboys, with one being scratched off at the 64th minute due to a double movement. The Cowboys kept applying the pressure, and thanks to some defensive magic by Felt, the Broncos failed to get the 6th tackle kick away, giving the Cowboys one last shot at a match-tying try. After a couple of power runs, the Cowboys were on their 6th tackle, and likely the final possession of the game. There was under 20 seconds to go when play resumed. It was all coming down to this. Thurston received the ball, beat a couple tackles, and then this historic moment occurred.
Gets the ball to Morgan. Morgan crosses the 20, comes away to O'Neill, gets the ball away. Feld has scored. Feld has scored in the corner. Look at the box. It's a try. They got a kick to win it.
It's a tie game. There's no more time left on the clock. It's now coming down to a conversion kick from the best player in the league. Someone who up to this point hasn't missed a shot yet. It's a tough kick, but if anyone is going to kick it, it's him. What a moment this would be for the franchise. Their first premiership in their 20 years of competition in the NRL, after 10 years earlier falling short in their first grand final appearance. A moment that would cement this player's legacy as arguably the greatest to ever do it. Welcome to a moment in history.
Kennedy. It looks to me as it's taken the steelwork. This is a horror movie.
So yeah, Jonathan Thurston missed. It's pretty crazy honestly. Off the boot, it looked good. The silence of the crowd as it floated through the air was incredible. The roar of the crowd approaching. That roar never got to happen though, as the ball hit the post, and for the first time in the NRL's history, they were off to a golden point to decide the NRL premiers. Just unbelievable. Golden point is pretty self-explanatory. The first team to score wins the game. The Cowboys started it with a kickoff, and the pressure was clearly on the players as Broncos player Ben Hunt dropped the catch, giving the Cowboys another prime opportunity to win the game. I won't bore you for too long, as golden point only lasted 2 minutes. The Cowboys got in range, handed it yet again to Jonathan Thurston to do the dirty work, and as Cowboys forward said post-game, you can't give JT 2 opportunities. If he misses one, he's definitely going to make the second. And that is exactly what he did, wobbling the Stephen through the post for the Cowboys' first ever premiership. When talking about great Australian Rugby League Grand Finals, a few come to mind. The 1989 NSWRL is up there, the 1997 ARL 1-2, but in my opinion, none even compare to the magnitude of the 2015 one. The energy in the packed ANZ Stadium, the phenomenal offensive play by both teams in the first half, followed by superb gritty defense in the second, all combined to create such a perfect game. The intensity of it all, the circumstances, the choke and then redemption, it all plays such a massive part in my eyes as to why this is the best grand final ever for this sport. Coming into the game, it was expected to be a close, intense battle between 2 great Queensland sides, but for it to end the way it did was truly incredible and simply iconic. It's one of those games where people will always ask, where were you when this happened? With all the build-up through the regular season, the forever famous moments it had, and the magnitude of the game itself, the 2015 NRL Grand Final will go down as the greatest game the sport has seen, and I think it will be quite a while until we ever see one like it again.